Good morning and welcome to Inside Texas Politics. I'm David Schechter in for Jason this morning. Let's get started with the student-led campaign for tighter gun laws. Thousands walked out of school last week and nationwide marches are planned coming up this week. So Texas is a strong gun rights state, but can all these kids move lawmakers to make some changes? In studio is Democratic State Representative Nicole Collier from Fort Worth and Ron Simmons, Republican from Carrollton. They seem to know each other pretty well. Joining the questioning as always is Bud Kennedy from the Star-Telegram. So
morning, Doug.
Thanks everybody for being here.
Absolutely.
I'm curious to know, have you heard from students? Have you been getting calls or any messages from kids who live in your districts about gun control?
Well, I've heard from some students that go to the community college that want to make sure that we address this issue in the next coming session. And so what the concern is the ability to purchase assault weapons at a younger age. So they want us to address that in the upcoming session to take a look at it. So I am going to be listening to what they have to say and making my voice heard on their behalf.
You heard from some college kids. Have you heard from any constituents on this?
Have not heard from any student constituents. I've heard from some teachers concerned about teachers being armed in the classroom, whether that's the best security approach or whether we should follow even further through with what we put into law, and that's having armed marshals on the campuses. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about that because General Paxton said the answer is more armed teachers. You know, Ron, what do you see as the solution? If Republicans move in one direction, what direction would they move on this?
Well, I think it'd probably be a hybrid, Bud. I think armed trained teachers is different than just armed teachers, okay?
Which we have now with the Marshall Program.
Right, and I am in favor of the Marshall Program. I would be the most comfortable with having people that were already trained in law enforcement to be there as opposed to teachers, but if we have no other alternative, I want to have some deterrent there.
Nicole, how do you feel about that?
I just don't think that the teachers are in the position at this point to focus on law enforcement and security when they're trying to educate our students. So I think that their focus should be on education, not the security of the students in terms of arming themselves.
But the Republicans have bills about doing away with our licensing, doing away with the registration of the whole license to carry. I mean, are you going to be able to move people the other direction when the Republican debate is really on whether to have licenses at all?
I'm sure going to try, because we really do need to focus on making sure that people are licensed, that there are background checks on all gun sales, whether they're at the convention or wherever, but we do need to have background checks. Let
me ask you both about last week. In the legislature, we had a committee that concluded that they didn't come out and say bathroom bills are no good, but it was an economic development committee, and we saw a hearing where one retiring lawmaker said that Governor Abbott didn't want the bathroom bill sent to his desk at all, that he didn't want to have to sign it or judge on it. Ron, did you hear that from the governor?
Absolutely not.
What did you hear?
That, and I won't speak for the governor, I probably went in on every meeting, but all that I heard in working with him and his chief of staff daily on this particular issue on my bill. Now, I'm not talking about the Senate's version. There were two very different versions of the bill.
Yours was a milder version.
Mine was a version that just said, hey, we've had 170 years worth of Texas like it is. Let's just pause until we can figure out what we need to do.
What did Daniel Hodge tell you?
Daniel Hodge says, this is the version that we want. And in fact, Chairman Cook came to me in April of the regular session and said, Ron, we have to move your bill. Your bill will be the savior for our members.
Your bill was kind of the option, the one for the House to pass.
That's correct.
Nicole, what did you think about Byron Cook's comment?
About his comment about
Abbott and the bathroom bill. What did you hear?
I wasn't privy, just like Representative Simmons said, I wasn't privy to all the conversations about the progressive progress of that bill, but I was not supportive of the bill at all. Right. I don't think it's something that we need to address in the legislature.
Okay. Representative Collier, I'm going to start with, I want to sort of end with this special election that was in Pennsylvania in Trump country, and then Trump candidate loses. What can happen in Texas? Can anything happen in Texas that look remotely like that? Does that mean momentum in Texas for Democrats?
It sure does. In fact, we're very optimistic about what's going to happen in November. We just need our candidates to get out there on the ground, and it's a grassroots effort. It's about meeting people and encouraging people to get out and vote. So we are optimistic about the Democratic turnout that we've seen, 1 million voters more than we've seen in 2014. So we're very optimistic about our candidate for the Senate especially.
Ron, this was suburban Pittsburgh, an area a lot like Texas. How did you take it as a Republican?
Well, obviously, I think Republicans need to pay attention. This is normal of what happens in a off-presidential year when you have a particular party in power in the presidency. I think in that particular situation, it was unique in that the Democrat candidate ran to the middle. And we'll see if he governs in the middle or not.
You're very in touch with faith and values voters. How are the people you know reacting to news about the president and a local woman named Stormy Daniels?
You know, I haven't heard much about that as far as locally. I haven't seen much about it. I think what the people that I represent and my own self, what I look at is the policies, right? I said this when President Obama was in there. One of the nicest men ever probably to occupy the White House. But his policies were totally different than I would have followed. The same thing with President Trump. Probably not the guy that maybe we would all go out and have a coffee with or something, but his policies are core Republican policies.
We appreciate you both being here. I like how amicable you both are. Talk about wearing purple ties on Thursdays. With the nation being so divided, how do you guys walk in here and be so friendly with each other? We saw it when you came in the door.
Well, we're all people, we're all human, and we all have our own personalities and our own beliefs, and that as long as we continue to respect that and we respect one another, we'll be able to get along.
And we've done that since day one. Nicole and I came together, one of the largest classes ever in the Texas legislature, and we both agreed that on Thursdays we would wear purple because red and blue makes purple. And we know that for Texas, when we can find issues we can work together on, it's better for our constituents.
It's nice to see. I know you guys never vote the same way, but you can be at the table talking to each other.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having us very much.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.